Everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we are going to talk about positive vibes and why that is not enough, which is, so it might seem a little counterintuitive, but it is one topic I see a lot. And to me, it's more of a fourth dimensional kind of when you first start getting in the fourth dimensional, you start thinking about your energy. And because when you're really in that third dimensional space, you don't really think about anything beyond the physical in a sense, right? Everything, you have to be able to touch it, and you're not really into anything metaphysical. You're not even thinking about that stuff. And some people just start off a little bit more in the fourth dimension than others. So some people you might know were always maybe into their energy and their chakras and putting out positive energy and all the stuff you'll see. I see a lot online about positive energy, and it's always been online. It's a very clickable thing for people, like positive energy and be positive and put the positivity out there. But it doesn't really work when we're talking about, because no matter how positive we try to be, you still hit your awakening. And then you're going to hit your ascension. And I'll still kind of see it try to be spun in there, even during certain ascension talks or certain awakening talks. We talk about being positive and all that. And how if you shift into a more positive mindset, everything shifts. Now, it's not so much that doesn't happen, because there is some truth, there is a kernel of truth to that making a difference, right? But when we really get into positive energy and the good vibes and all that stuff, it doesn't work long term, because you're still trying to put lipstick on a pig in a sense, right? The human realities are hell realities, and they just are. And anyone who is still really brainwashed by those realities will still probably, even if you are, no matter how deep you're into those realities, you would still feel like they're not 100%, because we're always striving for something else. That's what the human realities do to you. You're always the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, because we keep trying to take this external stuff and fill up ourselves with all this external stuff, when that's not going to help. So we try to get all this external stuff around us. We want cars, we want money, we want that job, we want that person. We want this person to act this way, we want this person to act that way. So let me put out all this positive energy and see how things shift. And when you play the energy game, you will see a difference when you start shifting to a more positive tone. When we try to take that positive tone and reshape human realities, that's where the breakdown starts to occur. Because human realities are built on a frequency that's in the 300s, right? You'll see a lot of frequency stuff online. Happiness is in the 500s, and bliss is even higher than that. I don't remember the exact scale, but just think of everything in your human reality. Even our human body sets in the 300s. And so when you look at anything, meditations, anything in the 400 hertz is fourth dimension, or 500 hertz, fifth dimension, you go up from there. So if everything in our human body and in our human realities is in the 300s, trying to put a positive spin on that, putting lipstick on the pig, it's still a pig. It's not changing the frequency of the reality. Just let me put a positive spin on it. Let me think positive about it. I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I was watching I think it was the Little League, Kids Little League, and the kids were super upset when they lost. And I just remember thinking, I was like, well, if you're going to be in sports, you're going to lose the majority of the time. No matter how successful sports figures are, they lose the majority of the time. When you play that much, you're going to lose a lot. And that's just how it works. Human realities are the same way. You lose a lot. You lose a lot. A lot of these realities, you're going to see them as a loss. As your human views them, even though there was a purpose for your higher realities and why they had to map out that way, there's always that universal plan getting you to the next phase. out of the human realities. But taking that positive energy and trying to reshape a human reality can only twist it so much, because the whole reality in itself is built on a different frequency. It is not built on a higher frequency, it's built on a lower frequency. So that is when you start to get that mismatch, right? We talk a lot about the mismatch. People trying to take all these higher frequency ideas and cram them into making their human life better. And that's when things start to fall apart, because our human life was not built on higher vibrational ideas. It's not built on higher consciousness. It's built on human consciousness. And trying to just put positive energy in and reshape a human reality, it can't form that way. You have to dissolve what you have and rebuild again at a different frequency. So that's why a lot of people get frustrated when it was kind of similar to a video I did about hope, faith and hope, or faith and trust. I don't remember now, but it was something similar to that title, where it's not enough. And good vibrations, putting out positive energy is not enough to reshape any human reality, because the whole thing is built on a different frequency. You can't reshape it, you can't retool it, you can't revamp it, you can't do shit with it, okay? It is distorted from the beginning. It was built on a distortion, and that's where that thing sets. And you can't shift your thinking and shift it, the reality. Now, I'm going to backtrack on that a little bit, because there is a kind of subset of this where you can shift how you look at it, but not trying to put out positive energy to change it. More of, you can look at it from a higher consciousness. You know, to me, that is where the shifts come. You look at it from why this is important, why this is happening this way. This is why this had to be this way. This is why this had to go down this way. Yes, it is very distorted. Yes, this is kind of screwed up. But I understand why it's got to go down this way. I understand why this has to appear this way. I'm now not applying just positive thinking to it, or good vibrations, or higher vibrations, or all the taglines you see. I'm looking at it now from a different consciousness. And I can understand why this reality is what it is. I'm not trying to shift the reality in itself with just thinking, oh, positively, this is going to turn out a different way. Because it can't. It can't turn out a different way, because it's not meant to align in a vibrational frequency it wasn't built on, right? That's why when we start getting into higher vibrational realities and trying to really shift them and mold them, those we can shift a little, but even those get really tough to shift. Everyone in the reality doesn't want to shift. So if you're talking about reshaping a human reality and positive vibrations, good energy, I'm just throwing out all these they're very polarizing terms. You know, they're very good, bad, which we don't use a lot. We don't talk in the polarizing good, bad, because it's just more of a human game. But I'm going to use the words here, because there's also a judgment in it, right? Positive energy, you know, your energy's not good. Is my energy good? That's one question I would get from so many people when we would talk about these concepts. They'd be like, oh, wait, how's my energy? Is it okay? Because people are very concerned about that, right? They're very concerned about, well, wait, do I have bad energy? I would hear that so many times. You know, tell me, what do you think? There is no good or bad. You know, there is unconscious and conscious, and we start shifting anything to that. You can't take consciousness and plug it into an unconscious reality and expect everyone in that unconscious reality to shift now to consciousness. Okay, you can understand why it's unconscious and understand that everyone in here might want to continue to play in unconsciousness, and that's where this reality is going to set. We have to be okay with that. You stop subjecting yourself to unconscious realities and unconscious people. Now, there's also parts of the process where you're surrounded by unconscious people, because your role is to be the most conscious one in that reality. But you understand that as your role. And until you have a consciousness to understand that as your role, then you have to look at, why am I putting myself around these people? Why am I putting myself around these situations that are completely unconscious and I'm miserable? and positive energy doesn't work. A lot of the stuff will work for a teeny bit of a while. You know, you might be, I'm going to be so positive today. And you go into your job, you go into your relationship, you go into whatever, even with your kids, and it all melts. And you're like, gee, it got up so ready to go. And then it's all turned to crap in like the last 20 minutes. It's the same thing with hope and trust. When things don't shift immediately, which things don't really do, sometimes in the beginning you'll see quicker shifts because your universe is trying to show you there's something to this, stick with it. So it's almost like when a child does something and the parents act, they act crazy over it, little things, like, oh my God, he said his first words, or oh my God, he hit his ball at Little League, and they just go kind of over the top, so awesome, I can't believe you did that, that was the best thing in the world, oh my gosh, when they're in their first play, and oh my God, you were a star, it was wonderful, yay. It reminds me of that, if anyone ever saw Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, which is a very old Muppet movie. But there was a scene in that when they were doing a talent show, and there was a mom, I think she was a squirrel, and all her little baby squirrels were out doing this little, I don't know what it was, like gymnastics or something. And you could tell she was their mom because she was in the audience going, oh my God, it's wonderful, they're wonderful. And she's just clapping and screaming for her kids. And that's what we do. And that's what your universe will do for you. When you start making these shifts into trying to break away from just everything being so set in the physical and looking in the metaphysical stuff and thinking about even the book The Secret, thinking about something and bringing that energy in and really trying to visualize it to bring that reality in, your universe is going to be that mom going, yeah, that's wonderful, it's wonderful, let me just give you this. It's going to feel a little bit easier, we're going to make this a little bit easier right now for you because we want to show you there's something to this. This is not just crap. This is really, there's something here. Keep going with it. But then you find as you keep going with it, those they kind of, the wins on that can come a little few and far between because there's so much inner work and connection that has to be done beyond that. You don't have to say, I'm going to be positive today. You just are a different frequency. But it takes a while to get there. It's not just, oh, I'm just going to be good vibe and I'm positive and vibes everywhere and all this kind of, there's a distortion in that in a sense. Because it's saying you can also have this bad vibe and bad energy. Like I said, it's conscious, it's unconscious. I'm going to be conscious of what I'm doing. I'm going to be conscious of my connection. A lot of us want to think, I'm so connected, and now I got to go out and be positive. But those things really don't match up because if you're that connected inside, you're not trying to be anything. You're just yourself, but you're more your authentic self. You're your soul self. You're not your human self anymore. So when a lot of people go through these transitions and their awakening and some of their ascension process, you don't feel like yourself because your human self was not yourself. You haven't completely unlocked your higher aspect selves yet. So you kind of feel like you're kind of a person without a self in a sense. You don't know how you're supposed to act and what you're supposed to be like and what you're supposed to enjoy and nothing really fits anymore and everything feels weird and you don't feel like you really don't like your old friends, but you don't really have any new friends either. Everything just seems up in the air. So when I see people in these kind of catch-22s with faith and trust but no connection, or good vibes but it's still not turning around, we have to really be honest about the reality. And is this gonna turn around? Is it supposed to turn around? Can we get to a point where we can look at this and say, I don't care what I bring to this, it's not going to shift because it's so unconscious. My energy for wanting to change it is selfish. We have to look at why we're trying to do something. And a lot of times when I would do it myself. So, a lot of the stuff we talk about here is because we all did it. We all did it ourselves. When we're talking about, okay, I want really positive energy here. I'm trying to shift something the way I want it. I'm trying to make something the way I want it to be. That's important to me. I want this to be this way. So I'm going to bring all this positive energy to try to shift everything this way, no matter what happens, and there can be the flip side of that where I'm going to be so positive about everything, I've now become a doormat to everything, right? Because I don't want to make any waves. When a lot of our ascension process and our awakening is about making waves and saying, no, that's not acceptable. No, I'm not dealing with that anymore. No, that's not okay. Is that not being positive, or is that restructuring your reality and saying, no, this is now disrespectful, and I'm not doing that, or this is not ethical. You're starting to see a lot of people stand up for what's ethical and what's not ethical, what's okay and what's not okay. You know, even if it's distorted and still polarizing, at least you're standing up and saying it's not okay. Whereas before we would let that go. It was kind of like the book. So I think it was called The Rules Book or something. It was out, I don't remember when it was out, maybe in the 90s, about being the cool girl and going on a date and being, this rules girl and setting these rules, but being the cool girl too. And a lot of that really was just kind of letting yourself being walked all over. To be the cool person, to be the cool girl, the cool girlfriend that let all the stuff slide. That was probably, we shouldn't let slide, right? But it's kind of in the same vein. It's trying to fit into something. You're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And when you're trying to take positive energy and be in a human reality, and you don't understand why I can't hold it, because the whole reality is a different frequency than you're trying to be. You're technically a different frequency than that. That's why you can't really experience happiness in a human reality. You can touch on happiness, but you can't hold it because your body's frequency can't hold it. I've done a lot of videos about raising your body vibration, and I'll probably do a live on that this week on one of my channels. Probably Instagram, because I haven't done one on Instagram in a while, but a live on Instagram. But I don't want to put it on here. I don't want to tack it on here just because this is already getting long enough. Sorry, I got like a lash in my eye. So if you're in these, I feel like a lot of us now are in these spaces where we're trying to go on faith and trust and hope, or good vibes and positive energy and all that kind of stuff, but nothing really shifts because the core of it is us, and the core of it, we don't have the connection, we haven't done the inner work to hold any of that stuff. We haven't done and that's not saying we just haven't done anything yet. We're not at that place yet. You're not at that place where you do the deep inner work yet. You're not at that place where you have deconstructed, watch stuff deconstruct, and move on to this, and move on to the next phase, and the next phase, and watch this reality crumble. A lot of these things you'll see and we try to do is we're still trying to make human dimensions work. And we will use every trick in the book. We will paint it every which way. And we put all these words on it to make us think we're okay in the reality, right? And like, oh no, I'm going to be positive today. Well, if the situation is shit, it doesn't matter if you're positive about it. It's be honest. Stop being positive and start being honest about what is this. Honest with ourselves. What is this reality? Is it if I'm just more positive, it's going to change it? Or am I just trying to shift how I feel about it so I don't have to leave it? Maybe that's the whole crux of what I was trying to get to, 20 minutes later. But that's how these videos go. It's more important to be honest with yourself about what you're in than trying to be positive about something that you have no business being in anymore. And it's now bothering you so much, and you feel so suffocated by it because the vibration of you and the vibration of that reality's construction are two different things. And your body can't set in it, so you can be as positive as you want to be. The positive energy thing is they're trying to do it with your mind. It's a mind thing, right? Nothing about awakening and ascension and your energy field has to do with your mind. It is your field. It is yourself. It is your heart frequency. It is not anything up here. It is all down here. It is everything else. It is feeling everything and understanding why certain realities work that way, but we don't get there overnight. It takes years to really clear out enough of our own programming and of our own patterns to really unlock all of those light codes, unlock our soul, unlock ancient memories, unlock higher intelligence. And to me, the positive vibe, positive energy thing is more of kind of a crutch to stay in something longer. When a lot of us just aren't honest about why we're still in something that's not, it doesn't matter what you throw at it. it's still, you can paint it up as much as you want to, but it's not going to shift. That's not saying you can't bring consciousness to it to see this is what this is. No, it might not be the right time to leave this yet. This might not be the right time to exit out of this reality. Maybe that time's 6 months from now. Maybe it's not this moment, but I understand why I'm here. And I understand I can be a conscious person in this reality. I can mind myself, mind the energy I'm putting out. That's beyond positive energy. That's consciousness. That is like positive energy is kindergarten. Consciousness is like getting your PhD in a sense. They're two completely separate. I don't want to use the word levels, but I'm going to use the word levels just for explaining it. Totally different ends of the spectrum of where we have to be. Now, I will also say that getting into just bringing any energy component is a big step for a lot of people. So I don't want anyone to leave this video and saying, oh, there's no reason to be positive. There's no reason to have good energy if I see somebody with that. But that's a phase they're in. They're in that, maybe there's something to this. They're that little child up on stage and the mom is clapping and clapping and clapping. Just look at you go, you're awesome. That's the phase they're in. It's when we don't move out of those phases and we just stay with these words and stay with this mindset that that's enough, when it's not gonna be enough. It's not meant to be enough. It is a gateway. It is the gateway into more. Just understanding that, yeah, I can shift how I think about it. I can be more conscious about it, but I don't have expectations. To me, positive energy, you create all these expectations about what's going to happen after that. Consciousness, you have no expectations to it. It is what it is. I'm conscious of what this is. Now, I can accept what this is for now, knowing it's not going to be forever, and it is what I'm supposed to do right now. And I'm going to move on from there. But I'm not going to try to take it and make it something else, or take it and twist it and try to make it okay if I just flip how I think about it. If I flip my mindset, all of a sudden it won't be so shitty. So just some wordplay. A little wordplay on this one. All right, I think we're gonna cut it. All right, I will see everyone next time. Keep practicing the art of intuition.